Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am AHLA Diffly. I'm the co-founder of the Restaurant Technology Network. And today we are excited once again to have an exciting launch in front of us. We're thrilled that you all have taken time out of your day to join us for RTN's Object Model Repository for Restaurant Industry Data Standards Adoption launch. While that is a mouthful, there's a lot of exciting things to cover. And the foremost thing is that this is another milestone, I believe, in our march towards standards adoption for the restaurant industry. The Restaurant Technology Network, as many of you know, we have been working collaboratively in this community for over 5 years to establish restaurant technology data standards. We started with an open API framework with 8 key principles. And from that, one of the key principles inside of that open API framework was data standardization and adopting data models inside the restaurant industry. And the whole purpose of this is to make standardization something that we are all doing together so that systems can seamlessly talk to each other. There's interoperability and interconnectivity that facilitates innovation within our industry, which is, I think, we all want. So with that, I'm going to introduce our speakers for today's call. I'm happy to present to you Christopher Siebes, who's a partner and board member he's a partner and board member of Results Through Strategy. He's also recognized as an industry champion inside of RTN and inside of the restaurant industry, and a key contributor to this work among many of the data, all of the data standards actually, that are inside this work and outside this work. So Christopher, welcome to the program today. And I know that you're
Thanks, Angela.
Las Vegas Airport today, but you sound clear as a bell.
All right, well, excellent.
Sandy Angel is the Senior Director for Technology and Information for the American Housing and Lodging Association. Sandy is a strategic partner of the Restaurant Technology Network over there at AHLA. Her work has been instrumental to facilitating our standardization over here on the restaurant side, as it has been on the hotel side. She is our workgroup moderator, our evergreen workgroup moderator. So Sandy, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, Angela. So glad to be here.
Robert Peterson, no stranger to anyone who's listened to any of our data standards launches. Robert is the Area VP for New Business North America with Oracle Restaurants. He's also been recognized as an industry champion by RTN and by the industry. He's a key contributor to this work and all of our data standards. He's also a recognized member on our Vendor Advisory Council. So thank you for joining us today, Robert.
Thank you, Angela, for having me.
And last but certainly not least, we have Casey. Oh, I can't move my my panel here. Sorry. Casey, let me not butcher your last name. Bedoka Merrifield, who is Principal Product Manager at Jack in the Box and Del Taco. Casey, thank you for joining us. You have been a key contributor to a ton of this work, so we are so thrilled to have you today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. You did perfect, by the way. And you can just shorten it to Bedoka. It's fine.
Okay, great. So with that, I'm going to start it off just by asking everybody why this work is important, or just to tell me a little bit about why you're here today, what you think everyone on the call might need to know just out of the gate about what we're doing here today. We'll answer that question, and then I will toss it over to Sandy, who will moderate us through the rest of the discussion. So Christopher, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm here because I have a long layover. No, I'm just joking. I having been a developer of software for restaurants for a very long time, it's very painful to have to do a custom integration for every product that your customers may want to use. And so having a data standard that facilitates that really important. And then you think 15 years ago there were no third-party marketplaces, and so integrating to each one of those, as lots of people have had to do, is very painful. And had we had a standard back then, it would have been a piece of cake to if the third-party marketplaces had adopted the standard, everybody would have been able to integrate in a very painless fashion. So when it works for our restaurant operators, it works for our vendor partners too, and it's a great thing, better than sliced bread.
Awesome. Thank you, Christopher. And Sandy, tell us a little bit about your experience on the hotel side and how you've seen this kind of work come to fruition, and maybe how we may learn from that, since you're a little bit ahead of us in this regard.
Absolutely. Gosh, it's been over 20 years now that the same kind of experience took place in the hospitality industry, where folks came together and said, we really need standards. All of these one-off integrations are just too much work. They take too much time and too much money. So the industry came together and formed both the Open Travel Alliance and Hospitality Technology Next Generation. And those two organizations started to put together standards, which in our industry are very, very heavily adopted today. So interoperability is just much more seamless. The whole interaction, onboarding of new technologies is quicker. And of course, that also helps to accelerate innovation. So, we created many standards. At that point in time, they were XML standards. Fast forward 15 years, and we've started to put together an object model, much like what we have done for RTN, to help folks be able to generate from that model the messaging in multiple languages. So that's very helpful as folks are looking to perhaps implement JSON over XML. So it's been a very exciting journey, and I'm happy to take this journey and what we've learned from the hospitality industry and bring it to the restaurant industry.
Thank you, Sandy. And Robert, tell us a few words about why this work is meaningful today in your mind.
I mean, I'm representing the solution providers in our industry. We are always eager to build solutions for our customers, for our brands, and we will build just about anything. Ultimately, we would like to build tools and solutions that can be leveraged and utilized by everyone, and not bespoke tools or bespoke integrations. So what's important to me here is that, one, we're doing the right thing for the industry, but that we're not recoding and not rebuilding over and over and over again. So I've been involved with RTN from its concept 5 years ago. It was very clear what the industry had asked for. They wanted at the time integrations to third-party delivery, which really morphed into just integrations in general into the menu synchronization. And from there, we moved forward with customer data and with transactional data. And in building it, we've found challenges in allowing people to see it, both in marketing terms and in technical terms. And what we're showing today will be a tool that allows anyone of any tier of understanding of data to be able to go in and to browse and to look at all the attributes and the data elements and how they all connect together. It's a fantastic tool.
Awesome. And Casey, you are on the operator side. You're looking at this from a completely different lens. Why is this work exciting and hopeful for you?
One, to have a place or a platform with a group of people that do have Roberts of the world, solution providers that are wanting to hear the problems to build solutions for the operators. That's really important. And then standards, to add on to what Robert was saying, the translation of words, language is important, and how we use it, and how we can all become more bilingual, if you will. Like, if we can all speak a little bit more tech, a little bit more operations, and come to a shared understanding of what these terms mean and how we measure success, I think this is a great place to do that. So it's been a pleasure to throw problems at this group that they've been willing and more than willing to tackle and use cases to incorporate. So it's been great.
Thank you, Casey. So as Casey said, she's been coming into these work groups and throwing challenges at them left and right, which has been a pleasure and fun to watch, but also I think fun for the suppliers to sort of tackle and roll up their sleeves and say, yeah, well, let's bake this into it. So you'll see a little bit of that as we go. And if you're an operator on the call and you have not yet experienced an RTN work group, at the end of this call, we'll show you how you can become a part of those. Even if you're a supplier on the call, everyone's welcome to join the work groups and test them out, see if you like them, and become a part of our community. We welcome everyone in the industry. The more talent we have on these work group calls, the stronger we are collaboratively and collectively. So with that, I will pass it on to Sandy, who's going to go through and dive into what this model is is the Object Model Repository, and a little bit more about how you can use it. Sandy, take it away.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to start off by posing a question to Christopher. Christopher's been involved from the inception of the data standards. So Christopher, could you just kind of walk us through the different standards that have been created and give us a little bit of detail about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm getting old, so my memory may be failing me, but I remember that we started with menu synchronization, which was this attempt to build standards to exchange menu data in all its complexities between applications that both generated that menu data, like, for example, a point of sale, and the potential subscribers that would like to get menu data. And so that was the first thing we tackled, and what we thought would have perhaps the most benefit. And then as we were working on that, there were all kinds of, I guess, transactions that relate to things happening in a restaurant between multiple applications. And so it was logical that we kind of segued into looking at transactional data, whether that was order data or order item data or discount data or reservations data or clock in and out data or cash draw data. And so we built a standard to allow people to exchange that data. And as we delved into that transactional data, there was lots of data that was really about the customer, even though it was transactional data too. So we decided that we probably should focus on creating a set of standards for customer data too, so that all aspects of that customer data, whether it's the customer record or the transactions that associate with that customer record. So that was the third thing we did, and now we're I think embarked on the fourth one, which I think is focused on back of house.
That's right. Fantastic. So yes, it's been a journey, and we have quite a few different libraries that we've created for this object model. Christopher, we could have taken different paths as we started to develop the standards, and we decided to go with an object model. Can you talk just a little bit about your view of that, why that was important, and how that helps the industry?
Well, I think it's important because it's agnostic. And so in whatever form the generator of those messages wants to create them, whether that's JSON or XML, they can do that. It seems it's the least restrictive way of creating that standard, and I think the easiest way for software developers to implement those standards.
And I think you make some great points there. The model itself has just kind of opened up doors to the industry. It allows for a lot of, again, the interoperability, but also for customization for folks who have some proprietary types of data they may need to exchange. There's just a lot of benefits of the model, like you said, Christopher. It allows the generation of the model in multiple languages, right now XML and JSON. But if something else were to come down the road, and that would be the next greatest thing in languages, right, it's a matter of changing how that model is generated, but the model itself doesn't change. So it really allows for this base to be built that can be grown upon over time. So that's pretty exciting. I'm going to ask Casey if you could just take a minute and just share with us your view from the operator side, and as you've been kind of exploring the tool and collaborating with your team, how you think that this might benefit your organizations.
Yeah, I can tell you anecdotally how we stumbled upon this. And my friend Jim is also on the line. So Jim came on to Out of the Box Brands as an information architect and started asking questions around menu as we took on how to standardize menu, how we talk about even sales data, so transactional data, menu data, all the things that Christopher referenced this group had already taken on. And menu is not easy. We'll put it that way. Menu is not easy, and it is the root of everything in a restaurant, really. So it touches so many things, and so many places across the organization. We're using words and terminology and measuring success and saying product when they meant ingredient, and saying build item when they meant product or portion, or so it was very difficult to get common language across the board. That's where we started. And I said, Jim, you are asking great questions and I don't have the answers, but I know smart people and I'm going to get you in touch with them. Okay. So got in touch with this group here, and then Christopher, Robert, Angela, Sandy all came on the call with Jim, and he was able to ask questions, get answers real time. I think we reached out, like, let's say it was a Monday, and by Wednesday we were all on the phone together. I will say that RTN has been so responsive, so open, so willing to help. It's true that what's in the object model repository did a couple things for us right off the bat. One, we looked at it and we're a bit stumped, like, is this even applicable to us? Then we quickly realized, yes, it is. You just haven't thought of that yet. So there was a bit of that, like, okay, we thought we were solving one problem and there's a bit more to consider here of how we define some of these things, which was helpful. And then also feeling okay about some things that were not applicable, just, not applying those, not leveraging every single thing, not taking this as a prescriptive type of model, but more of a where it makes sense, and customize it where it makes sense. You don't want to get away from the model and the reason you're doing this, but not everything applies to everyone. And so we were trying to tackle it from not just menu standardization for a single brand, but multi-brands in our setup. So it's been very, very helpful. More importantly, we're very grateful for this group and being a part of it, because the response time and the open ears and not thinking that the solve is already there, let me just show you and tell you how to do it. I have never been mansplained to here. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Robert. It's been great. It's been so easy to work with these people. So yeah, that's how it's helped us and change the way we think about menu first. And then we quickly went into that rabbit hole of other models.
I think to your point, Casey, that's kind of the beauty of a group like this, the collaboration and the viewpoints being brought in from so many different folks, looking at it from so many different points of view. And so you do, especially being involved in the work groups, you really have that ability to kind of learn from others and understand things in a more holistic viewpoint, from a more holistic viewpoint. So that's pretty exciting.
It is. And I keep being one of the only operators. So I implore any of you out there to come join us. I can only role play, with just myself long enough. I like to throw challenges at them, and I'm an actress at heart, but I need co-stars. So come be an operator with me and throw out scenarios for them to react to. It's a lot of fun. This group is silly and smart and open. So I really can't recommend it highly enough.
And Robert, what do you always say about the group? It's the place you come for what?
I think it's for comfort and to geek out, because we do geek out, and it's a safe space.
Well, Robert, I know you've been involved from the beginning as well. You've been through the journey of creating the data standards, all of the different messaging from the get-go. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with the Open Travel? I'm sorry, the modeling tool itself. It is the Open Travel Model Development Environment that it's called, that we're using that tool, and how that tooling is helpful, and how you might implore other vendors to take a look at the standards.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about this yesterday, and there's a couple directions I want to take this. One, I just say, Casey, thank you for, I mean, the ability to come to a common vocabulary or vernacular. I mean, some of us have been in the industry for 15, 20 plus years. We have a lot of data architects that are coming from other industries, from retail, from finance, and very smart, intelligent data um, resources, but the restaurant industry is unique in how we in what we call the data attributes. For some of us, we just understand it because we've grown up in it or we've lived with it. And I know it, specifically on the call that we had with Jim and Casey, there were some aha moments where the naming of the various items between menu and product and combos and things of that sort, that came to life. And then the tool helped because we could search. And once you search and dig in a little bit, you can see how they're connected to one another. But also within the industry, I mean, Tim White from Synergy Suite is across the pond. You know, they use slightly different language over in the UK when they name some of these. So that was all brought in to all of our work groups over the last 5 years. And so that's a key piece, is all of us speaking a common language. The other thing I thought about is, so a while back when PCI became a thing, you would go and Google a solution to see if they were on the PCI website. And I can foresee this tool becoming a place where you can take a solution provider's API, hopefully it's published and it's public, where you can go and see it and you can browse and look at it and see how their data is managed. And then you can come to the RTN model repository and browse and dig into it, and you can compare the data structures to see if they align, if they're doing the right thing. If there's something missing in one compared to the other, that's something at RTN we should know about. So far, we haven't been stumped, and I'll give the example when Chad McKay from Fire and Vine was on the stage at Mertech, and a group of us were sitting up front, and there were some deep questions about reservations and about the customer data and the model there. And they brought in some pretty unique scenarios, and we all kind of high-fived each other down low because we were like, hey, we did that. We did accommodate for that depth of customer data in that unique instance. So for me now, looking at this model and I call it Googling. I know we're just searching within this tool, but to be able to throw in terms like nutrition or people or party and see how it's all connected, I think that's great. And it does then help bridge the gap between marketing, between the technologists, between the operators. So again, going back to Casey's, we can all, her term, we can all speak the same language and have the same vernacular. And I think that's really, really key here.
I think that's a great point, Robert. And I think we did, with the collaboration that took place and bringing all those folks together, I do think we thought of pretty much most everything. But I would like to note that this is an evolving standard. So if someone comes up and comes up with something that's missing from the standard, it's something that we can always add in. And to Casey's point, there may be things that are proprietary, and you may want to put those in an open field that you use and that you don't share. But if it's anything that the industry uses as a whole, it should be placed back into the model so that model is complete and people utilize it all in the same standard way. So if you are playing around in there and you can't find something that you need, let us know. We're happy to take a look at getting that added. Let's talk just a little bit about the repository tool itself. I'm going to go ahead and take us over to the web view of the tooling. So this is the RTN Object Model Repository. When you come in, you would sign in, and you can get your credentials from RTN to sign in. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Once you log in, you can use the browse function to go in and take a look at what's been built in the repository. This is the base of the repository, or the namespace. And once you click on that, it'll show you all of the different libraries that we've created over time. You can see the different versions. Some of these have multiple versions because, as you can see, we have a couple of libraries here that are common across all of the messages. They have kind of that standard information that you use many over and over again within, you know, all of the different messages. So we have those in common libraries. So those have been updated a little more often. We talked a little bit about the menu sync. So clicking on menu sync, it starts to walk us through everything that's been developed. Robert, I think you mentioned nutrition. So if we take a look at the baseline nutrition object, you can see you know, everything that exists in here for sharing that nutritional information. And you'll see that there's an enumeration so that you can go in and say, okay, this applies to sodium, or this applies to a calorie count, or calories from fat. And each of those then applies back to these different data fields to talk about the range. And Robert, maybe you want to dig into that a little bit deeper, or you or Christopher might have some other places you'd like to point me in sharing the information.
Well, I mean, I'll add, I know one of the things that came up on our call with Casey and Jim, and I think it was the unit of measure, there was some discussion around the modifiers, or the menu items or modifiers that were then attached to entrees. And the question came up, well, how much is that? Is that a slice of tomato? What is it, a weight? Is it an each? And we were like, oh wait, we have that. We call it the unit of measure. And here we've defined a few, but you can add others as well. But this was one of the aha moments where it was just translating what we believed we were hearing from Casey and Jim into the model.
Just to your point, Robert, as we look at some of these enumerations, these are open enumerations, so these can be added to on the fly. But again, if there's something that's missing, let us know, and we'll add it into the official list of types for that. Is there any other things that you were thinking about that might be interesting to share with the group today in terms of the model? Christopher, you might be on mute.
I am sorry. I think if you look at menu items, that we tried to accommodate for for more modern points of sale that may have a different structure than legacy points of sale that might be flatter in nature. And so we tried to build this to accommodate all the various modern and not so modern solutions. So as Robert said, I think, you know, we think we've thought of everything, but of course I'm sure we haven't. And there'll be lots of things that, as developers dig into this, that they find might be missing, and as Sandy said, we can add those. But I think we've built a fairly comprehensive resource as it relates to menu, for sure.
And I would add, since we're on the screen, and I know Russell, you had asked the question earlier about ingredients. As when we started and we did the menu synchronization, and we quickly saw that, you know, putting menu items into an order really required us to build the transactional data standard. We've been following the data upstream now, and so we just launched a work group for back of house, which is all around kitchen production and everything as we follow that data stream towards the raw goods. And ingredient is in here as an attribute. Russell, I know that you had asked for it, and that's really our next step now, is to chase this menu back into kitchen production, and then from kitchen production we're going to chase it all the way to the supply chain. And so we have work to do. This is fun work to do, and this is where, as Casey said, come and join the work group. We need more minds. We need more use cases or user stories that we need to tackle, and make sure that as we build out these standards that we are accommodating every possible scenario.
And I think as you point out the ingredient example, within the ingredient object, you will see that ingredient also exists as a sub-object. And what that allows for is things like, well, an ingredient in a burger, and a hamburger might be the patty itself. And now within that patty, you can describe all of the ingredients that make up that particular patty or the bun. It allows for that kind of detail in the messaging. I wanted to also show that there is a search feature, so you can click on the search item, and if there's something that you're looking for, like nutrition, you can click on it and search. And so you can find things in here that you may or may not be able to kind of navigate your way through as you're looking at the model. You might not know exactly where to look. So, take advantage of that. Take a look at this. And as we mentioned, this is, again, the web portal that allows you to access the repository. We also have the Open Travel Model Development Environment, which is a tool that allows you to actually go in and pull this repository into a development environment. And within that environment, you can look at things in more detail. So for those of you on the call who might be developers and might be really wanting to get into the nitty-gritties or extend this for your own purposes, you'd want to go down that path. But this is a great tool to understand what's in the repository and what's in each of those messages individually. And it doesn't take a degree in computer science to use this tool. Are there any questions on the from folks on the call just about maybe items that exist in the model itself?
We also welcome commentary. I know there's a really great active chat. If you just want to make a comment, if you're blown away, or if you just want to make a comment on how this may help you facilitate sort of moving towards standardization in your own organization, we'd love to hear from you.
I think there's one comment, Angela, and this is excellent work. I just can't praise it enough. When you think about reducing rework, using standards, accelerating time to market, you've got some predictable things that have already been defined. You have to do it, and also the possibilities that you have between restaurants and third-party partners, all using the same standard. Incredible. One of the things that was brought up, I think, a few minutes ago was, how do you know really when you've got them all? And you've probably got the lion's share. But I was thinking maybe at some point, and you don't want to do work for work's sake, but it'd be interesting to know if you look at these data elements and attributes, how they kind of align to the capability model. Because if you had an association that says, okay, this customer data attribute is associated to 1, 2, 3 capabilities of the model, you look across all the attributes at the end and you say, okay, these ones all have alignments to capabilities, but these capabilities didn't have anything aligned to them. That might reveal over time that these are other areas like the ingredients, for example, that say, oh, these capabilities are things we don't have anything for yet, or we might be very slim on, and that can give you a frame of reference. So just something to think about for the future.
It sounded to me, Russell, like you were volunteering to help us build a capabilities work group, which sounds like a lot of fun.
We already have a lot of work done there, Angela's going to say, I think, right?
Yeah, Russell has been championing that capabilities framework since day one, and I really do see that is. I love what you put in this chat about the Rosetta Stone and then the DNA blocks. That's so great. If you haven't seen the Restaurant Technology Capabilities Framework, you need to check that out. That's Russell's passion project. And if you will, by chance, be on hand to join us at the MERTEC Executive Summit in October, we will be hosting a deep dive into that framework, which really shows the operational landscape, if you will, of the entire enterprise and allows you to do what Russell just described.
Do we have that, Russ?
Okay.
I was just going to say, do we have that in a video format or anything? I shared the spreadsheet or the model itself with Jim, but we are literally talking in the background right before you chimed in, and I was like, you need to talk to Russ about this capabilities model. And then you said you can kind of start tying it in with these with how many my mind was just reblown. Like I was like, oh, you're so right. That could really help crystallize what we're doing and how it is all related. So I appreciate the call out, but I can't wait for people to also see the capabilities framework that you've been sharing with us as you go.
It's impressive. I'm really impressed, Casey, because you're on both. You're in both work groups, and you see I think you really see how it's joined, how the joinings can be really beneficial.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that work group was amazing. I know, Russell, you've done a great job at bringing it into like step 2. I know you had helped us build it to begin with, and now you're working on how to apply it. And it's incredible. I was involved in the first work group, and I haven't been able to manage my time well to be part of the second group. But not unlike the KPI group that we put together as well. And I dovetailing on what you said, we found that there were a lot of discussions around reporting or business logic when we were building all of the data standards. And we always stuck with this, smart systems and dumb pipes. And we were really building the dumb pipes. We were just building the data or defining the data and how it's shared between the systems. But we recognized that there was truly an interest in building KPIs or defining them, and so that was another work group that we did that dovetailed from the data standards. So all of the bodies of work that have been built in RTN are available for everyone to view on the website. The technologies capability framework is available there to browse through, and this next step, this second movement with it's incredible. I get to sit in from time to time, so I'm looking forward to the MERTEC Executive Summit to see the launch there too.
RTN
It's
has
so interesting. I don't know how many people out there are hearing, in your company's words like transformation or digital transformation, all of the things that have been the hot words for a few years now. And I think what Russell and that work group's model has done with the capabilities framework has really crystallized how we can maybe be in that transformation and shift to product thinking from project thinking, but we don't necessarily have a product strategy very often. There's kind of these individual groups that change from project to product, but what does that mean from a strategy, capabilities, and success and measuring success and investment? It's all very strategic, high level thinking, but it helps really tie things together in a way that helps your teams understand the impact of the work that they're doing, which I think is what keeps people motivated many times. So it's really cool if you kind of dig in there. So I just wanted to throw that in. It's been interesting to weave all these pieces together of all the different work groups. So great work to everyone.
RTN really has done an amazing job of making some very, very valuable tools available to the industry. And so we do encourage you to go take a look at that. Just as Casey and Robert were mentioning, there's just so much that interrelates with each other. And so as you dig into one tool, all of a sudden the next tool becomes even more valuable because it kind of just takes you to the next step. So please, get into the website, take a look at all of that great work that's been done over the last 5 years. It's really amazing. As we look at the modeling tool, before we flip back over, is there anything else here that folks are curious about in terms of what's been built? I know Christopher talked about the transaction piece, and there is just really quite a few different transactions that we've tackled over the course of the work groups. There's just again a lot of great work. So if there's anything that you're curious about, please either type it in the chat, speak up, or we're always available, as Casey said, via email after the fact. We are very responsive, so if you have any questions, we're happy to tackle those, but I'll just pause for a moment to see if anybody has any other questions before we move on. All right, then I'm going to take us back over and just remind folks here about the the website itself, and where you can find the object model repository. So as you hop over to the RTN website, you'll see that there is a link for the object model repository. You just click on that, and you will be taken to a page that allows you to request access to the repository. Once you have that access, then that'll be your login criteria that you would use when you go into the tooling itself to sign in. It's also the same login you would use if you were using the Open Tribal Model Development Environment, the OTMDE tool itself, because indeed you're accessing the same repository, whether you're doing it through the web portal or whether you're doing it through the tooling itself. So we do, we do encourage you to get in there, request access, and start digging around. We've got lots of great work groups going on. Angela, I don't know if you'd like to speak to this or if you'd like me to just keep on rolling.
Well, Sandy, you're in all of these, so you can keep on rolling, but I will say these work groups are very, we're excited. They're very well attended. We have a lot of great interaction and collaboration inside these work groups, much like you've seen on this call, with everybody kind of rolling up their sleeves. And Robert even had the bold idea to suggest that we use the call today to have you guys try to break one of the model, to try to hack it. Like what's in here that you think should be in here, and let's make sure it's in here, kind of thing, which might be fun. But if you have any questions about any of RTN's work groups and or the work you've seen today, feel free to reach out to me directly. But you can join the work groups. If you're not a member of RTN yet, you can test drive the work groups. Restaurants are welcome anytime, consultants as well, and suppliers. You can test drive, and then if you decide to become a member, we'd love to have you. So reach out anytime and just explore it and see if it's for you. We love that there are a lot of techie people in the work groups, but we also have a lot of people that aren't so techie, that just have a lot of really good real world, industry, tribal knowledge, field sales expertise to lend to the discussion. So there's just a myriad of different titles and varying levels of technology expertise. And it's always where you can come sit and be a fly on the wall and learn from the group discussion, or jump in and lead a group and end up speaking on one of these webinars, or maybe at Mertech. So there's a lot of great ways to participate in the work groups, and we encourage everyone to come and join us.
And certainly, don't